Here's the truth that will certainly offend millions, but the truth doesn't give a damn who it offends. And the truth is still the truth, even if the majority of our people have been misled to believe lies. The truth is that if you're one of those people who believes that our plight is connected to a Bible written by history's proven most ungodliest group of people, and a Bible that was brutally beaten unmercifully into the blood-soaked minds of our ancestors, and if you also believe that we're being controlled by a silly slave syndrome myth, which presents what would in fact be the least effective method used for controlling generations of millions of people, then you are among those that are profoundly ignorant. And if you're insisting that those noted beliefs are true, then you are ignorant of your own ignorance. There are presently white social engineering scientists and white propagandists that works unrelentingly behind the scenes to keep you ignorantly believing those noted falsehoods in regards to our plight and condition. Because they know that as long as our understandings are kept flawed, then all of our liberating strategies that stems from those flawed understandings will also be flawed. I will therefore not be silenced to appease your ignorance when it's that ignorance that hinders our true liberation. The time of believing in feeble-minded premises that literally insults our own intelligence is now over. It's time to learn the truth of our plight and condition. Therefore, those who know the truth must teach. African proverb. The following discloses the truth of our plight and condition. The enslaved Africans of the 21st century are those who cannot unlearn the many mental enslaving lies that have been deliberately indoctrinated into our minds by the white society. Whenever those that have proven themselves as being history's proven most notoriously deceitful, racist, and most narcissistic group of people are the ones controlling all of the information that we receive, they'll always feed us lies that mentally enslaves us. Those noted personality traits compel them to do so. It's the people they are, it's the way they've always been, and it's the only way they know how to be. If you believe otherwise, it's because your mind has been colonized to do so. The reality and facts are that the white society has never earned our blind trust, nor have they ever earned the credibility to control what we believe. They lied to us from the beginning, and they lied to us about everything. We fell for their lies because we didn't know that such level of deceit existed. We had no words to describe their level of deceits. They've always told us mental enslaving lies. Our situation is further compounded by the fact that they're still currently telling us mental enslaving lies. If you doubt this fact, it's because you're clueless of the true underlying relationship that presently exists between the white society and the black population. Here are the reality and facts. The white society exclusively controls the official information and mainstream media images that are systematically and repetitively fed into the homes and collective minds of millions of black people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you don't think that they're exploiting this scenario and monopoly to manipulate our collective minds to think in ways that serves and protects their interests, you are extremely naive. The hidden reality is that white propagandists perpetually feeds disinformation into the collective minds of the black population that are designed to subliminally program our minds to think in ways that is beneficial to the white society. Subliminal programming are messages that becomes embedded into the subconscious mind without the conscious mind realizing it. Here's an example of that practice. Have you ever noticed that all health studies that we receive from white sources favors their racial group over black people? When critically thinking, can't you see just how cartoonishly unrealistic this scenario actually is? It's actually false propaganda designed to subliminally program our collective minds. When black people repetitively receive health studies constantly favoring whites over blacks, this subliminally embeds the myth that whites are inherently superior to blacks within our subconscious mind. This happens without most black people even realizing it. This is because the message bypasses the conscious mind and becomes embedded into the subconscious mind. Once this belief has been successfully embedded into the subconscious minds of black people, it causes many to feel subservient towards whites and therefore more compliant with white dominance over our lives. Furthermore, it not only makes black people more compliant with white dominance over our lives, it in fact in many cases causes many black people to even prefer it, thus greatly aiding the white society and maintaining its social dominance and social capital over black people. The white society constantly embeds subliminal messages into the collective minds of the black population that manipulates us to think in ways that are against our own self-interest and that benefits the white society. This is the true reason why many black people now perceive ourselves as being our own worst enemies and reveres Caucasians in spite of a brutal history of the contrary. The collective aggressions of the black masses have been deliberately shifted away from the white society and redirected against ourselves through repetitive media subliminal programming. Don't dispute facts you don't understand, from which you've been misled to believe, because doing so will keep you mentally enslaved by the white society. This is not a silly conspiracy theory. The subliminal manipulation of large targeted population is a true and well-crafted system that the ruling class have mastered. Through the skillful, sustained use of repetitive media subliminal propaganda, propaganda designers have manipulated the minds of many black people to think in ways that serves and protects the interests of their white society. This might sound absurd to some, but it's actually a very common hidden nefarious practice. Throughout history, those empires that were brutally oppressive, fearing eventual retribution from the oppressed, have always prevented it by manipulating the minds of the oppressed to think in ways that prevent such acts of massive retribution. Therefore, the beliefs and perceptions held by the oppressed are never truly their own. They are always falsehoods beneficial to the oppressors that were shrewdly embedded into the collective minds of the oppressed by their oppressors without the oppressed even realizing it. We call it mental enslavement, but white social scientists call the practice socialized. Socialized is when the oppressors exploit their monopoly over information that are fed into the collective minds of the oppressed to manipulate the oppressed to think and behave in ways that are beneficial to the oppressors. The socializing of generations of people is possible because regardless of how intelligent people are, if it's possible to control the input into the human mind, it's entirely possible to control what people will believe. The human mind is like a computer. No matter how efficient it may be, its reliability is only as great as the information fed into it. If it's possible to control the input into the human mind, it is entirely possible to control what people will think. Because the white society controls most of the information and media images that black people receive, this therefore allows white oppressive forces to control what black people believes. They've exploited this scenario to socialize millions of black people to think and behave in ways that serves and protects the interests of their white society. White social scientists describe this nefarious process as merely instilling a value system into the collective minds of the subordinate population that makes them adhere to the authority and existing infrastructure of the dominant culture. White governments defend and justify this unethical practice by saying that it is the duty of the government to prevent dissent from rising among the subordinate population against the dominant culture. It's how the white society protects itself from massive unified black retribution. And what is under siege is our ability and willingness to think critically, to challenge what we are told, and to resist their efforts to manipulate and deceive us. Those black people that don't critically think never notice their mental change. Many black people have asked, how do we overcome 400 years of lies from the white society, compounded by the fact that they're still feeding lies into our communities? Furthermore, because they've socialized us to put more value in being religious rather than being critical thinkers, many of us are therefore defenseless against their manipulation campaigns. The task before us is a daunting one. But if we didn't have the potential to overcome it, what oppressive forces would be working so hard and so unrelentingly behind the scenes to prevent us from doing so? Freeing ourselves from the white society's mental enslaving lies, it starts with critically thinking and start questioning the validity of all information that we receive from the white society. In order to resist the white society's mental enslaving lies, we must be able to reason well, think critically, and craft our words effectively in order to be able to present a persuasive counter argument against their lies. Developing critical thinking skills allows us to resist the bombardment of misinformation and disinformation and mount a positive argument for the truth. I never said that what I teach would be easy for all to comprehend. I only said that it would be the absolute truth. More importantly, the black liberating truth that sets us free. It is a truth that the white society doesn't want black people to ever learn because it is the truth that sets us free. Throughout generations, our ancestors have always provided us with those they've given the spiritual insight to see through the oppressor's maze of lies and confusion. Those of us bestowed with this gift must share the knowledge. Those who know must teach. African proverb. Welcome to reality. Welcome to knowing the truth. One love and peace.